Hey everybody,
I'm Elaine Ewing,
Sean Gallagher.
and we are here for 30 years in 30 days. Today is day 10, and I'll be talking with Sean about the publishing of 3 books that he did from 1999 to 2000. So today I'm talking with Sean about 3 books that he published, and I have them here, so I'm just going to show them quickly. And I think most people watching probably have, if not all 3 of these, a selection of 1 or 2, right? So this is the first one. Of course, it's backwards on Instagram, but it's called The Pilates Method of Body Conditioning. Then he also published The Complete Writings of Joseph H. Pilates, Your Health and Return to Life. Hey, Catherine. And then we have the Joseph H. Pilates Archive Collection.
Happy birthday, Rachel.
Hey, Regina.
Hi, Regina. Catherine
So,
Kirsch.
yeah. Hey, Catherine. So we have these 3 books. Sean, which was the first book that you published?
Was this one?
This one here?
Yeah, because basically I tried to get a Pilates book published for years. And I would go to the publisher and there's like the name's no good, they can't do this, it won't work. Nobody wanted to publish a book.
They said the name Pilates was not good?
Yeah, it was like, what's that? We don't know, they had all sorts of reasons, but nobody really wanted to do a book. And then what's interesting is that I had a publisher come to me and there was a book from England, the Body Contrology or Body Control or whatever it is. Okay. I can't remember exactly, and they wanted to do it, but since I owned the trademark at the time, they couldn't publish it. I gave them permission afterwards, but then that publisher then agreed to publish this with me, and he also published the other 2. He also did the other 2 books for me as well. But I paid for that. He didn't pay for it. I paid for the other 2. This one he paid for.
Okay, so that was your first book.
Right.
And can you give us why did you, obviously, you wanted to get Pilates out there, but why did you said you wanted to publish a book for a long time.
Right.
Like, why?
What's interesting about this book that's different than most other books that are out there is that at this time I was working with Stamina. We're going to talk about Stamina later, for making home equipment. So there was a home reformer, there was a home chair, there was a mat, so and barrels and spine corrector, and that's all in here.
Cool.
So this book is basically the basic system.
Okay.
There's a few things that I left out. I left out rolling like a ball because a lot of people in the beginning have no idea how to do that. It could be, if you're going to strain yourself, that might be it. So in the basic system, but this has arm springs. So it has, different things you can do. So the arm, even though there was no Cadillac, you could screw, you can just screw eye hooks into the wall or into the door frame and do your arm springs. So that's one of the reasons why. But then we had the chairs and the different apparatus, to be able to make that book. And we wanted to get it out there because it hadn't been done before. Anything before, most of the stuff, even since then, right? Once I lost the trademark, all of a sudden everybody wanted to write books and all the publishers wanted to take it because it was now finally popular. But before that, it was very different. It was very hard to find somebody willing to do it. I went to probably 10 or 15 different publishers, and pretty much none of them really wanted to do this kind of a book. And I thought it was important to be able to have that, since it was home equipment. You could do that. And then there was a list, in the back. You can see lots and lots of pages in the book that had the training centers and all the certified teachers, which is when I owned the trademark and somebody wanted to use the book, which we'll talk about with tomorrow, that they had to put all that, all those names in the back of the book, because this was really, there was the internet, but there was really, social media was not what it is. This was, so it was a way to make sure that if people bought a book that they could find teachers as well.
So this is basically like an introduction to the general public. Like, this is an overview of what Pilates is. It's in the mat and some apparatus, and if you want to, continue learning, there's a list of places and teachers you can go to to practice in a studio. And
I was still growing. It was before the court case. I lost the trademark. So if I'd have kept going, that list, and if we would have done a second edition or whatever, the list would get longer and longer. And we had the 800 number and the internet at the time, and so it was good.
Helen was asking what year is it published? It's 99, right?
Right.
Okay.
So, and, you know, this had, you know, a number of different things in it, right? It's still, you know, the photographer is the same photographer that did the manual, Stephen Spiliotis. So he did all the, you know, we did a whole nother photo shoot, you know, with all the different, you know, apparatus and people and different things. So we did it that way. So, the publisher was Bainbridge Books, which, you know, and, yeah, so it was copyrighted, published in May of 1999.
Cool. So now the other thing I like about this book is it has the basic system on the apparatus and the mat, but you've also included some archival pictures. So you tied it back into who Joe was and his original work. So that's really cool.
You know, again, you know, I did this with Romana. Romana basically approved that she didn't really do the nitty gritty of going through everything, and a lot of that was Alyssa Rosenberg who worked with me. So we worked with that together, and we had, you know, we based it on the training manual that I did with Romana. So it's based on that to a certain degree. But we put in a lot of different things. I had somebody write you know, there's a Kara Springer who also wrote some things for the Pilates Guild newsletter. She wrote introduction, and so, you know, I included a lot of different people. Yeah,
that's really cool. And then you put some pictures, like here's an example of some pictures that Sean has placed throughout the introduction, but mostly the beginning of the book. But there's the archival pictures, and even on the cover, right? There's the original.
And on the back.
Yep, and on the back. Yep. So that's pretty neat.
You know, and again, these pictures were not published before I published them. I mean, they were on Joe's wall, but if you look, this one here, you know, I have that's the negative, you know, sheet there, and I have the, you know, so I put that there to show that it was the source, right? Because that, you know, I bought that, and that's, you know, the rights to that I bought with the business to have all these things.
Cool. So now, who are the people demonstrating in these pictures?
I'm not going to be able to tell you everybody's name.
Well, you know what? I bet probably says their
names. It says
names.
it in the beginning.
I'll look for it while you talk.
Okay. Well, you know, so basically, I tried to make it a broad base of the teach. You know, and again, I used basically teachers. You know, people who were working with me or were working as Pilates teachers. So Brett Howard was one. He's on the front cover.
Yep.
And he was at that time he was the main teacher of the teacher training program. You know, I mean, when Romana left. Oh wait, this was before Romana left, so he wasn't doing that yet. That was after.
He became that. Yeah. Actually, we're going to talk about that.
Right. We're going to talk about that later.
So the people who are Zoe Hagler.
Right. And Zoe was a teacher from Pasadena. And she's still out there teaching. She's a great Pilates teacher. So if you're in California, go have a session with her.
Leah Chebak.
And Leah was in your area, Rhinebeck, Woodstock, that kind of area. But I don't think she's doing Pilates anymore. I think she does more yoga.
She's been my teacher in the past because she used to live here, but she moved to New Jersey. There's Brett Howard, like you said. Yeah. Stephanie Beatty. Stephanie
Beatty was a great teacher. She passed away. When she took these pictures, she was in her 68, I think. So, you know, we had a broad base of, you know, all types of teachers, age, ethnicities, you know, and pregnancy. We did a little bit of everything.
So it basically shows how Pilates is for everybody.
Right.
Ed Morand. Melissa Fields and Catherine Goldbeck.
Right, and Catherine was the one who was pregnant at the time.
Cool.
And Catherine also worked for me, at the front desk.
Oh, neat. So you used your community. I like that.
And the other thing is, like in this, this basically takes you through the different exercises in the system. But I also put, at the end, I put a few things: special exercise routines, pregnancy pre and post, senior citizens, corrective measures, and exercise routines for beginners. So one of the things that we did, I looked at the science at the time, right? So I did that, and you can see that I referenced all these different articles talking about exercise and pregnancy. So I was, trying to make sure that we had up-to-date information, and then we did the exercises that you could still do if you were pregnant, and depending on what stage and level you were at. And then, when we did the exercises for different age groups, for senior citizens, what we could do for senior citizens, so you could modify and basically do that. Corrective exercises for back pain, other problems, poor posture, love handles or flabby buttocks.
Does it say that?
Yes, it does. Muscle and joint stiffness and inflexibility, because, that's what happens. And then we have exercise routines for beginners. Option 1, and then, like what would you do week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So, the progression, how to progress somebody through, that too. And option 2, beginning with the performer and working towards all the other apparatus. So there's ways to sort of, that's what we try to do, is really give a good overview and how to start and use the system.
It sounds like this book is pretty timeless. I mean, even though it was published in '99, it's not like it's outdated or anything.
Well, just it still does what it does, and if you want to be, it's more classical, right? And come from Romana, so it's Romana's, my name are both on it. She approved it. She worked with me to do it, and of the 3 books, it's the cheapest one to buy.
Yeah, it's going up though, just so you know.
Is it? Really?
Yeah.
What's it? $4 now?
No, I think it's like 20.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just a few years ago, it was a penny.
Yeah. So.
Because people found the value after all.
Yes, they did.
All right, so now our next book is The Complete Writings of Joseph H. Pilates. And I like this a lot because of the material that you used to put this book together. So do you want to tell them what you used to make the book?
Well, basically, Your Health and Return to Life Through Contrology, I have the original manuscripts.
Like a typewriter.
Type pages. And for Your Health, what I did differently, if you look at my version, the pictures in here are not the same as the ones that Joe did, because the only available thing at the time, I now know that there's, I could probably go scan it and get a scanned copy and maybe do it a little bit better, but at the time, I'd have to make a copy of a copy of a copy, and it wouldn't have looked so good. So I didn't want to do it that way. So what I did is I took the archival pictures that were similar or close and added them into, the book. So that was one of the things that I did, right? This one here, and then like this is the, if you look at the drawing that's used on one of them, it's the outline of these 2 guys, of him doing with the suitcase on his head and then standing up
Like
tall.
those are the photos that for the
Those
cover.
right, those are the actual photos, right?
So, but the thing about the manuscripts is that it's just the pages and it doesn't actually have the photos in it, right? That's why you sourced from the archives to place the photos.
Right.
Yeah.
The written manuscript said picture here, but it didn't have the picture, okay? And then, there's a historical sketch, there's, other stuff. And then I put a bunch of the archives pictures on the back as well to demonstrate, and a little bit of everything. There's, standing work, there's mat work, reformer chair, Cadillac, the rehabilitation chair, the tower, head wrestling, arm springs, and then other apparatus, and then some of the mat work that's in the book itself. So
Cool.
That was one of the things that I did there, and that was published in 2000.
This is nice. This is more expensive if you. Well, these are all used copies you would have to buy now because they're not currently being published, correct?
They're not yet.
Yeah. So, but if you were to find this on eBay, they're around $200. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Too bad I can't make money from that.
I've heard people say things like, oh, he sells those books for, hundreds of dollars. I'm like, Sean's not the person selling them. They're used. Those are people on eBay and other. I self-published this and the archival book, and I only published, I think 1,200. So wow, of this book?
Both.
1,200? Oh, okay.
I believe both.
Cool.
And so, and I kept a box, right? And the rest, we sold it. And that box, I did sell them over the years, and for friends and people I knew and things like that. And I did sell a few on eBay or Amazon. I can't remember which one. And whatever the going price was.
Yeah.
But it's, it was a couple $100, and I was happy for that. Now I should have stayed. If I'd have kept them, I would have been a lot richer.
Only if you sold them, though.
But most of the ones that you see out there are not me.
No.
Somebody else is making all that money.
Well,
And at one
that's
point,
what the market is.
And at one point, that was more than $200.
This one?
Yeah, and the archive collection, which we're going to go over next, I saw it up to $15,000.
I've seen that too.
Wow.
I have to say, I highly doubt anyone actually paid $15,000 for that book.
I understand. Well, if they did,
I mean, maybe someone
crazy.
did.
I mean, for $15,000, I could totally republish it in color.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
So Leanne says it's nearly 2,000 the archival book in I guess the Isle of Man or in the UK.
oh, okay, yeah.
So
No, I think she means. I think she might mean this one because
that
that's
one
what we were talking about.
No, well she can let us know. I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Because we haven't talked about this
Well,
one.
wait, let's see what because I mentioned it a few times.
Yeah.
Let me see. Does it say?
Well, I think we were talking about this one.
All right.
She'll
Well, you can
clarify.
let us. You can clarify.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. This one, the thing I like about this in particular is it's like larger, okay, than there's like the white one that people have. Or there's another one with like fireworks on it, I think, that's out now. But this is a larger size, so it makes for like a
see this for a
nice, it feels good.
So if you look here, hold on.
Okay.
Here's the size, and look,
Oh.
it's the same size.
Did you plan that?
Yes.
Wow. I'm impressed. Well, I guess you and Joe had a good idea there because the size is really nice.
She says archival one and orange one. She says the other one is 3,000. Wow.
Okay.
All right. Well, I have one or two of the complete writings. If somebody wants to give me 15, no. I don't have any more. So.
Well, actually, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, do you plan on republishing any of your books?
Yes, I do. I mean, what I'm going to do, part of the problem with the archival, Your Health and Return to Life, I'll do again. And then the archival one. But part of the problem with the archival is that so many people have scanned or copied, taken pictures of the picture and put them on social media and try to use them without permission. So it's a problem. So what I'm doing now is I'm going through, and every picture that's in the archival book, the technology has improved since in the last 20 years, so I can make it a better picture. I will, and if it was color, so you want to bring, let's talk about that now.
All right, so the next one is the Joseph H. Pilates Archive Collection.
And that book, the cover is color. Mm-hmm. The inside is not. The inside is two color. To do color back then would have been prohibitively expensive.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't do it. So and even two color is a little bit more expensive. So you'll notice when you open the book that there is color there, but it's basically my favorite color. And it's on the sides, and that's how it was two color. So you could do color, and that wasn't so expensive. And then all the pictures are black and white.
Well, most of them are black and white.
Most of them are, but there's quite a few color ones.
Uh-huh.
You can see here. There's a color one. There's a color. So I have the whole series. Somebody recently, put these up from the library that are black and white. Well, I have the original negatives, and it's color. And he doesn't have whitey tighties. He has yellow tighties. So he has white shorts. But there's the whole series, and then there's the picture of Romana, and with Joe down at the in Washington, doing that, and there's a bunch of other stuff as well. So there's more, there's more stuff that's color.
Yeah.
And then there's, this picture in the back, that I have the plaque that has this painting on it.
The original plaque that Joe had on his wall.
On the wall.
Cool.
Yeah. So yes, and so what I'm doing is I'm going to be slowly. Making the pictures available after I get them digitally enhanced and screened, and you'll be able to buy the picture to put on your wall, but it'll also be in the book. So that I'm doing
cool.
both those things.
Now, how did you go about selecting what you were going to put in the archive book?
Well, one of the things that I did was I wanted to give a broad base of what Joe had. So this is probably about 10% of what I have, picture-wise, negatives and that type of thing. And even in this book, one of the things that we did in the back is I also put in, let me see where it says it. I don't know if you can, it's backwards, but it says video captures from old films. So I also did the video capture screenshots from the videos. And again, that technology was it wasn't great because you can even see there's some lines and things like that because they basically took a screenshot from the video. Well, what I have done now with that original 16 millimeter film, right? I have the reels, the original reels, the source, and I sent that out, and each one of those frames is now a TIFF file, which is a picture file. And it's small, but because it's TIFF, it has a lot of information, so I can blow it up to a picture size. So I have all of that material as well, and I'm going to be doing the same thing with that. So I'll be reproducing this the same way, but it'll have digital, watermarks and regular watermarks that won't be seen. They'll be very subtle, but they'll be there so that I know it's my picture. And if so that if somebody tries to use it like they've been using with this one, that I can say no, you can't unless you have permission.
So now this book was the first book about the archives and the only book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, basically, all this stuff was not published. It was, if you have it on the wall, if you take a picture and you put it on the wall, and again, you have to remember that I'd have to get my lawyer to do it for sure, but I'm pretty sure in 1909, just having the picture on the wall, it's not published. That's what I've been told. There's the standard for publishing is much harder to do. And so most of these pictures, most of this stuff was on the wall or in his files. Like the blueprints, they weren't all over the place. The different the pamphlets that he had, maybe there were some of those, but you have to have enough to make it publishable. So there was so many things that are in here. This wasn't published, right? I mean, that's the type of thing. So what I'm doing, so before that, it wasn't published, and people are like, well, it's copyright law. Well, if it wasn't published, then when I bought the trademark and the business and the archives, one of the first things I did, besides getting a training program together and a manual, was to do what? I copyrighted all the unpublished materials in the archives that I had. Now, and there's still stuff that's unpublished because when I got the property in Beckett, there was things there that I haven't, that I didn't copyright yet. And I'm planning on doing that as well because it's the unpublished work as well.
Cool. Wow. Okay. So basically, if it if it wasn't for this book, the archive collection, as well as the calendars that you published, which we'll talk about those another time too. But I don't think we would have access to these pictures.
Well, Joe, there were, like Corolla, right? She had pictures of some of the stuff that Joe had. It was black, Joe's was in color. She took a picture and it was in black and white. Or Joe took a picture and gave it to her. It's not really clear. But that, again, that's not necessarily published. That's like, here's a gift of a picture.
Right.
So some of the, some of the elders had some of those pictures. So there may have been things out there and then they were given to somebody else. But, if somebody gives you a picture that's a copy of something and then you give it to somebody else, that they don't own the copyright. They don't have rights to publish it. You can put it on your wall and that's fine, but you can't go out and put it on internet, social media and those types of things that, without permission.
But what I mean by this is that because you published it, we are now able as a community to have access. Because even if other elders were given things by Joe, it's not like they went out and put a book out about them. Yeah, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. I'm a fan of this book. I really like it a lot. I like to, it's like you just kind of get lost in it and just look through all the pictures and you can look around, Joe's studio and see, how things were set up and you see all the different apparatus and there's a lot of good, you did like a nice range of things in the book, I think.
Well, I did apparatus, if you there's pictures of Joe, right? I have the 4 pictures of him at the different times. There's he had this, the mat where it was numbered and worked out and the whole thing. So that, things that he did like that. There was the posture pictures from early on, so there was posture pictures. And then there's his pictures of different things, more posture. The bench mat, drawings from, like here's the drawing for the original raised mat. Things like, there's so many things in here Pictures of Claire when they had the fire and she was taken out by them. There's certificates of merit, from the Chiropractic Academy. So there's so many different things in here. And some articles, pictures of, and the clients and what they said to him.
Cool.
Different, a little bit of everything. So, and a wide brace. And there's a section on Ted Sean. There's Ted Sean. There was film of Ted Sean and Bart Mumaw, his significant other partner. And when they did that film, there was also picture taking. So there's a whole series of pictures. I also I loaned copies of that to Jacob's Pillow, so they had it for their archives because it's Ted Sean. And again, some people went there and made copies without permission. So, and then put them on the internet. So that's the problem. This is the problem. People doing this. So I'm trying to. I'm making it available and it's accessible, but you have to have permission to do it properly, just like any other people that own intellectual property. And that's the problem with some of this stuff. But I'm working to get that all taken care of so that you'll be able to have it on your walls, or you'll be able to have this book again that's your coffee table book sitting in your studio when people come in like, whoa, look at all this stuff.
Cool. We have like a couple minutes, but what I wanted to ask you as a final question is, we had shared yesterday some pictures of you and Romana working through the process of publishing this book, the archive book. So can you talk a little bit about what those pictures were about?
Well, basically, when this book got, those pictures were for this book specifically, the archival.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because on the back of here, Brooke Seiler made a little.
Yeah.
So we're talking with Brooke.
Well, we're going to talk about that after.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's okay. I like to have a little surprise at the end.
This is my copyright, but it's edited by Romana and myself.
Okay, so that was the pictures were during the editing process?
Yeah, so what I did is I went through, and if there's also, I know I keep picking it up.
No, I just don't want this to fall over.
There's a number of comments on the bottom, like who it is, what it is, and that kind of thing. And I didn't necessarily know everybody, but
that's
Romana
so cool.
did. So what I got was they sent me this paper that was as big as this whole book, like this, right? And and if you look at the picture, you can see it's very big. And what we did is we went through, and I had her approve and make sure that what I was saying was correct, and that the people that were there were correct, and that type of thing. So when we because that's the editing part that she did.
Oh, okay. Well,
because almost every picture has tells you what the picture is. So we had to go through each picture and get that approval, and then you'll see all other pictures where I'm working with the publisher. There's the younger guy who was the guy that was doing all the layout and putting it together, and the older guy was the publisher. And so we went and worked with them to try to make sure everything was laid out properly. What you got to do when you have a book. Make sure
it must have been exciting.
It was great.
Yeah.
And I also so you're saying that this book now is, I think you said 3,000 in
Oh, they said euros, right?
Euros, yes. So when I sold this book, it was $35.
Wow.
So it wasn't about making.
Should have bought it back then.
Yeah, it wasn't about making money. I can guarantee you, when I do it this time, it will be more than $35.
Like 38.
It'll be.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, what were we talking about the other day with Matt Maddox's son? What did he do? The manual?
Matt Maddox's son, Christopher Maddox, when we made the first teacher training manual, he was the one who laid it all out.
Okay.
He started with Adobe I forget what it was. Now it's in design, but I think it was PageMaker.
Okay.
And we just started, and it was very new, and it was but he used that to lay it all out. So and he was Matt Maddox's son, who was a.
Well, this is because we had referred to this picture, which is in your book, but that's the Matt Maddox, because we had talked about how there's a picture of Joe with him with the breathing apparatus.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Joe's using the apparatus, and he's having Max put his hand on his belly so he can understand what it is that you're supposed to do when you do that exercise.
Super cool. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So I think that wraps it up for today. Now, tomorrow we have a special guest joining us, and Kathy Strack will be leading a discussion between Brooke Seiler and Sean Gallagher, and they're going to be talking about Brooke's publication of her first book, The Pilates Body, and how she worked with Sean to use some archival pictures in it, and the name Pilates was trademarked at the time, so that process that they went through to have that book published.
Right.
That'll be a great interview, so I'm looking forward to watching that.
So hopefully, and tell your friends, and if anybody you think that wants to know, the other side of the history that nobody ever tells you, that this is the way to get it.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks for joining us,
Thanks, everybody.
and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.